Well, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today it is time to show off my brand new lens, my brand new old lens for my Leica M4, and it is the Leica 50mm Summicron Rigid that I picked up. If you saw the box opening video that I posted a couple weeks ago, you will have seen me opening this up. I ordered it from MPB. I wasn't sure what condition this lens was going to be in. It turned out to be in pretty good shape. I have been using it for a couple weeks now. I've done a couple rolls of film and I have developed those and scanned those. I'm going to be showing you some images from those rolls of film today. But I just want to talk about this lens. I've been really happy with it. I've had my Leica M4 since June of last year. It's late March as I'm recording this video right now. And the entire time I have had my Leica, I have been using this lens on it. This is the Voigtlander or Voigtlander 35mm f2 Ultron. And this has been a fantastic lens. I've enjoyed using this lens a lot. 35mm is kind of my preferred focal length for just everyday walking around, documentary style photography. But I wanted a 50mm. I wanted to have some options when I was shooting with my Leica M4. I wanted something that I could use for portraiture some more. And I just thought 50mm, it's a normal focal range or a focal length. It'd be a good lens to have. And so when I did the research on it, I ended up with this Leica 50mm Summicron Rigid. It's the first non-collapsible version of the 50mm Summicron. They did have a collapsible version. This Rigid was made from 1956 to 1968. I think that's the best information I've been able to find. I was looking at serial numbers and stuff. It seems as though it was from 56 to 58 or 56 to 68. They also had a dual range, which was the same optical formula as this Rigid lens, but that one had these goggles that could go off and on the lens so you could actually do close focusing, which is interesting. This one only focuses down to 1 meter. Which on this focus scale only is 3'4", and this is an early version of the lens, so it only has the focus scale in feet. We'll be getting into that. Mine is a really early one. You can see the knurling on this lens is smaller. It's not quite as high as the newer version or the second version of this lens. And mine only has the focus scale in feet. The later versions of this lens have feet and meters, and then the focus ring is a little thicker and the knurling is a little bigger. I paid $800 for this lens, which is around what it would have cost me to get a Voigtlander 50mm. I think it was the Nocton 1.4 or 1.5. That's the lens I had been looking at, and then when I did research and found that I could get this lens for the same price, I thought, you know, I've got an old vintage film camera, I might as well get an old vintage lens for it. And I'm really happy that I did. If you saw the box opening, you will have seen, you know, the quality of this lens or just the condition it was in was much better than I was expecting. And now that I've actually taken some pictures with this, I can attest to the fact that it looks really good. I'm really happy with how it looks. So as I mentioned, this is chrome brass. I'm going to take it off the camera here. I'm going to lock my focus ring at infinity, take it off the lens, or take it off the camera, put that there. I am going to pop the back cap on just because I don't want it to get ruined. I do have a hood on this. I just have a little pinch lens cap here that I can use with the hood, just some generic one. It came with this Leica lens cap. This one is just aluminum. I think the original ones were chromed brass, just like the lens. And the hood I have for it is the actual Leica hood. It's the 12585 or 12585H. And that is the hood that goes with this lens. So here's the lens all compact with the cap on. The hood I can show you now is this one. So a nice vented hood, works quite well. I ordered this, it was about 60 bucks, which was kind of expensive, but you know, it's Leica. This is used, I'm not sure what era this is from, but it fits perfectly on the lens. There are just these tabs on the side and you plonk it on like that. The lens itself, like I mentioned, is chrome brass, and this thing is a little beast. It's a little tank. This thing weighs, I have a filter on the front. It's a black and white master UV filter. So a very thin filter. With the filter on and without the caps or anything, it is 10.3 ounces or 292 grams. With the hood, the 12-585 hood, it is 10.9 ounces or 310 grams. If I compare that with the Voigtlander, this is also brass. This is enameled brass. Without the hood or the caps on this, this is 212 grams or 7.5 ounces. With this hood, this is the Voigtlander LH4N hood, 8.1 ounces or 230 grams. So the bare lens, 212 versus 292. 80 grams more for this lens. It's a pretty heavy, hefty little tank-like lens, but it feels fantastic. The weight with this lens and the hood and everything on my Leica M4 is over 2 pounds. It is 2 pounds, 1 ounces, or 938 grams. So you're gonna feel the camera with this. It's not that bad at all. It's not like it's a really heavy camera or anything, but it just feels so dense and so solid. The focus ring on this does have this little infinity lock. So you have to press in here and that unlocks the lens. So once you get to infinity, it locks in. Not a big deal. I haven't found this an issue to use. And the focus throw on this is really smooth. It's really nicely dampened. It's longer. It's probably, if we go from infinity here all the way, it's a little more than 90 degrees. So it's a lot longer throw than my Voigtlander, but I still don't have any issue using this for quick critical focus or anything. And it just feels, for a lens, this lens was made in 1957. This is one of the very early 50mm Summicron rigids. It feels amazing. It's so smooth, so precise. I don't know if this has been serviced at one point. I'm assuming it must have at some point, but it feels better than my modern Voigtlander. The aperture ring is still nice and clicky and precise. I think the aperture ring in the Voigtlander is maybe slightly more positive. You'll feel more of a positive click with each aperture. And there's no half stop on this either. It's all full stops. Obviously, if you wanted to do, you know, halfway between 5.6 and f8, you could do that if you want to. You can just put it there. But as far as the actual clicks, it's only full stops. But still very precise, very nice. It has these little knurled knobs or knurled pieces on the end from when you are actuating the aperture ring. So very, very nice. And like I said, the focus nub has worked perfectly fine for me as I'm focusing this. Usually, you know, I'll have it in this hand, the camera, and then I'm using just my index finger and my thumb to actuate the focus. If I do go to infinity and it locks, it's not a big deal to just press in and actuate the focus ring. So ergonomically, I've really liked it. It feels amazing. They don't make them like they used to, gang, and this is a perfect example of that. This lens is just a little beast. It's a little tank. I love it. There's that famous quote, well, it's famous to me. I think it's in the scene in Jurassic Park where the T-Rex is attacking and they're in the Jeeps and little Timmy or Tommy or whatever the kid's name is, it's actually before the T-Rex attacks. He's got the night vision goggles on and the lawyer, Gennaro, says, "Are they heavy?" And he says, "Yes." And he says, "Well, they're expensive, put them down." That's kind of what this lens feels like. It's heavy and dense and just a beautiful quality piece of optical precision. I'm gonna place it back on the camera now. Make sure there's no dust on my shutter. Twist it on like so. I will place the hood back on as well. Again, you're just pressing in these tabs. It's nice that there is almost no blockage. Without the hood on, you're not seeing this lens at all. maybe just the slightest amount in the lower right corner of the viewfinder. And even with the hood, you're barely seeing anything. And because it's vented, it's not obstructing your view. It's just been absolutely great ergonomically. It does make the camera slightly front heavy. So if I were to put this down on a flat surface, it might want to tip forward. It doesn't always. It's a dense little beast of a lens. It took a little bit of getting used to for me shooting 50mm again. I haven't really shot 50mm that much lately. Like I said, with this camera, I've pretty much exclusively been shooting that Voigtlander 35mm. And so I just had that in my head all the time. I know the range, I know the distance from a subject that I should be. So when I first was using this, I'd put the camera up to my eye and be like, oh, I'm too close. And I'd have to step back a little bit. But after that initial, day or so, I got used to this focal length, and I've really been enjoying using the 50mm. But I want to go through some of the images that I've gotten with this. I have been pleasantly surprised. I expected it to be good, but I wasn't expecting it to be quite as good as it has been. So I did 2 rolls of film with this lens. And this is shooting Kodak Tri-X on my Leica M4. And the first thing I noticed, I'm just gonna start showing some of these images on screen. Well, we'll get into the first thing I noticed. Here's the first image I have. This was a real snap photo where I was just zone focused. I saw this guy doing this with this blanket or towel or whatever that is. And I was able to snap a quick picture, and looks great. It's in focus. That's another thing. I wasn't sure if my camera was gonna be perfectly calibrated to this lens because it's mechanical coupling for the focus. It worked out just fine. If we get into some of these other images here is one of a tree trunk and a plant growing in front of the tree trunk. And if you look, there's not as much contrast for sure as there is in my modern Voigtlander lens. And I expected that. I expected it to be less contrasty. But there's so much tonal range everywhere from black to white, and every single infinitesimal tone or shade in between is represented with this lens. So not as much contrast, but there's just so much information in this. If we pause on this picture of the dog in the window and I zoom in, obviously there's, it's through a reflective surface, so you see a little bit of the street reflected on the image over top of the image, but just look at the tonal range. It's kind of soft and creamy, but it's still really sharp. And I haven't been shooting this lens at f2 because I'm going around on the street taking pictures, so I'm usually, anywhere from f5.6 to f11. And I was expecting it to be good. I expected it to be less contrasty. I didn't expect it to be as sharp as it is at f5.6 to f11. I'm assuming it's gonna be softer at f2, but it is really sharp. It rivals my Voigtlander as far as sharpness. It might even be sharper than the Voigtlander. And there's just so much detail and information in these images. Here's one of a dude who wanted me to take his picture when he was out on the street. And it's a really great focal length for that, and I think it just renders people really nicely. It's kind of flattering, but again, there's still a lot of detail and sharpness. This one is just me in a bathroom, and if you look at the out of focus areas, it is so smooth and buttery. It's like velvet in the background. I don't know. It just looks so nice to me. I love the rendering on this lens. Some tiny horses. I think one of those is a mule. Here's one with pretty flat lighting just out on the street. It was a cloudy day, but there's still a lot of three-dimensionality to this picture, even with the really flat lighting. And I think it's just because there's so much tonal variation. There's just so much information in this picture, and it is just really sharp, really detailed. It looks gorgeous. I think the rendering of this lens is absolutely beautiful. we zoom into this one of this handsome little dog, the detail on the leash and then, you know, the texture of the skin on the dog's nose, I don't know. I was expecting this lens to look good. It's a Leica lens, but I don't know if I was expecting it to look this good. I am really pleased with how these pictures turned out.